As a continuation of our resume series, I want to talk to you a little bit about the summary of qualifications. This is that area of your resume towards the top where you decide to tell people what they should know before they read your resume. This is definitely a key area of your resume because they say that the first 3 to 6 seconds is what grabs the attention of the person on the other end. Meaning, if you can't get them interested, then they're not going to keep reading. So I often tell people the top of your resume is where you highlight the most important factors in your career so that you can grab the attention of the end user and the person that is actually looking at your resume to see the value that you bring to the table. So let's look at some of the mistakes that people make and talk about the ways to best push forward your background and highlight your experience. So let's go ahead and look and see what people are actually doing and what they're doing wrong so that we can better understand what the person on the other end is looking for. Here's an example of a summary of qualifications. Now there's two styles that I've seen that people do it incorrectly. I've seen paragraph style and I've seen bullet point style. Paragraph style is by far the worst because nobody wants to read a paragraph. In fact, statistics show that 80% of the people that look at a resume are more apt to read and absorb and retain information if it's bullet point form versus paragraph form. What does that mean? That means that if your resume currently has lots of paragraphs, you need to break them out into bullets. So in this case, this gentleman used bullets, which is a better way of summarizing their experience. But here are the issues that I see. First off, this person is using very subjective language, meaning when you talk about being detailed oriented, you talk about, how well you're or how good you are at things. That is subjective. That's a language that you don't want to use, especially on your resume, because people really don't want to know how good you think you are. The other thing about this that I would particularly note that I wouldn't like is the fact that it's so wordy. It's so much information that the person has to read through in order to best understand your experience. A summary of qualifications is like a table of contents. If you ever looked at a table of contents, it's usually a few words for each thing. It doesn't have long sentences, it doesn't have long phrases, it doesn't have long paragraphs. A table of contents is just that. It's an outline of what you're going to see in the resume. So let me show you my favorite way of summarizing a person's background, short, sweet, concise, and to the point, where it's clear to the person on the other end and most retained by that person. Here is an easy way that you can reformat a resume and clearly articulate experience, the most important things that you want them to know, but in a clear and concise manner. A couple of things you'll note. This was done in Microsoft Word. It's very easy to build a table. So it's a table with 2 columns and 4 lines. You'll notice that each line has 5 or 6 words. And it basically highlights individual things in the person's background that are most important to the person on the other end. It's very clear, very concise, and you'll notice it also doesn't have any subjectivity to it. There's nowhere in here where it says, I'm good at what I do. I have excellent management skills. I have fantastic communication skills, because that's a subjective way of looking at things. The most important things to remember is less is more. Be clear and concise. Don't write a summary that's paragraphs long because they're going to look at your resume, hopefully. The most important thing to remember are the things that you really want to highlight that come out of your resume. Highlight the important points, not the ones that are not important. A lot of times I tell people if you're going to use your resume for a specific job, you can change your summary of qualifications, your bullets, to whatever suits that position. So for instance, if you're submitting your resume to a job that needs A, B, C, and D, make sure that your bullets at the top have A, B, C, D, E, and in it, so that you can highlight your experiences that they'll see in your resume, but before they even look at your resume. Avoid subjective phrases and words. I know it's difficult. Everybody wants to say how great they are. But at the end of the day, nobody can really truly say how great they are except for people that actually worked with you and then reviewed you. At the end of the day, we don't want you to be conceited and we don't want people to think that you are know-it-all. You really just want people to know the facts. And knowing that you're an excellent communicator is really not a fact, because anybody can be an excellent communicator. In fact, I don't remember somebody that says that they're a terrible communicator. Lastly, do not include the obvious. What does that mean? Well, do not include the obvious is like saying, I'm a manager or I manage people. Well, if you're a manager in your job and your resume and clearly it shows that you're a manager, saying that you manage people is not really effective. Now, if you want to say how many people you manage, that may be one thing, but really try to avoid the obvious. Don't just say people manager, but say manager of up to 40 employees. Or when you're talking about projects, don't just say project management, say project management of projects up to $11 billion or whatever. So you want to highlight the things in your background, but also with specificity so that you can then relay that information and give them something to look for when they're looking at your resume. Remember this, the summary of qualifications is an outline. It brings people to you. It gets people to look at your background. It's not a supplement to your resume. It's strictly what we call the bait to get people to actually continue to read and continue to look. Look for more tips on resumes and how to make the perfect resume next week. And if you have any questions, concerns, feedback, or you want to get help, please get with me at michaelglinter.com, or you can email me at michael@michaelglinter.com, or hit me up on Facebook and LinkedIn. Have a great day.